Hey, what's up? It's Laser Lemon, and today we're talking about Lego design. Right now I'm designing a 1 to 200 scale Lego model of the Edmund Fitzgerald, the ship that famously wrecked in Lake Superior 50 years ago. My model is going to pull apart into 3 sections, showing the cross section of the cargo holds, and it includes a mini build of cargo that can snap in and out of those holds. But then I asked my kids to try building this cargo, and they discovered that there's quite a lot of work left to be done. So let's try to do that work now. So first I want to show you the cargo model and how it works. And for that we're back in Bricklink Studio. And then after that, let's build it and we can experience the problems my kids ran into. So here we go. So right now we're looking at the midship section of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And we can take a look at those cargo holds, one on this side with a back wall and one on the other side too. Now, if you take a close look, you'll see this little clip in the back. I'll remove the top, or I'll hide the top so you can see. There's these 2 little C clips, and it'll be clear what those are for in just a moment. So let's look next at the cargo model. And that's here. This is the cargo model. It represents a load full of iron ore that would be loaded into the Edmund Fitzgerald. And you can see if we slide this around, this is a perfect shape to slide right into that cargo hold. And then on the back of this model, there's this recessed bar element. And that will slide right into that clip and hold the cargo into place. So let's see if we can move this cargo model into our midship model to demonstrate how that would work. Let me zoom out and I'll put this model here. I'm going to create a submodel, aft cargo. Aft just means that it's closer to the stern than the bow. It is another nautical term. And then the tricky part is positioning this, and I haven't found a better way to do this, but our midship is centered in this X direction right now, so we can move this cargo to be, oh, that is the wrong dimension. It's a lot of trial and error when I'm trying to move things. And everything is moving based on the center point of this cargo. I wish I could reposition the origin of this cargo to make it easier to reposition it, but I can't figure out how to do that yet. If you know how to do that, please leave a comment. It would make this a whole lot easier. So my next best strategy is I've lined it up on one of the 3 dimensions. So now I'm going to try to position my camera to be looking directly at it. I'm going to zoom in and then I'm going to move it 1 LDU at a time. And that's kind of like the atomic unit of positioning in Lego land. So you can see the angled outline of these cargo holds. I'm just going to slide this up and it should eventually line up perfectly. So you can also see the top of the floor of the cargo hold. So I've gone a little high. I'm going to go back down and that looks perfect. So if I reposition again, you'll see it's in there, but it's sticking out the back. So now I'm going to move my position to the top view. Zoom out again, kind of reposition this. And I'm going to do the same thing, use the move tool, and just going to slide this back in. And this is where the bar would start to interact with that clip, and until it's all the way clipped in and it's in position. You can see the cargo lines up perfectly with the back of the midship. So that's how the cargo clicks into place. And believe it or not, I don't think that's the problem. Let's take a look at my desk and we'll try to build this and discover the problems that my kids did. let's build. So what we have here is the instructions that I gave my kids, and let's work through them and see if we run into the same problems they did. Okay, step 1. 1x1 Technic, 1x2 Technic and tan, and then these red snot bricks, studs on side, and we click them in. So right away, I'm realizing it's possible that this is an illegal build technique. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I don't think you're supposed to connect studs on side to Technic bricks like this, and I think maybe you can see the slight misalignment on the bottom. I don't think it actually affects this build significantly, but it's something to keep in mind. I'd like to avoid illegal build techniques if we can. Calling a build technique illegal is kind of silly. Nobody's going to come for us, but that's what the Lego community calls it, and it basically just represents a technique that you won't find in an official Lego build, because it may place undue strain on the pieces and could damage the pieces. Okay, so we're on step 2. Let's move along. Okay, so there's a lot of this. We're going to repeat this over and over. That was step 3. Well, I mean, one problem with these instructions is it's a little hard to keep track, because this is so repetitive, of where you are. So I kind of have to tell myself, I find, that I'm on step 4. And now I'm on step 5. Because these steps are all the same, I might just have to, if I lose track, I'll have to count how many of these I've done to make sure I'm actually done. And with all that talking, I forgot if I just did step 4 or step 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 red bricks along the edge. So I must have just completed step 5. And now step 6 is the same thing, except in black. And the choice to use different colors for the interior of this build, it's important that it's black on the outside, but to use different colors on the interior was meant to make it a little easier to keep track of what you're doing and to see the difference in the bricks. I don't know how effective that is though, so let's flip it over. These single step flip instructions, I don't think you ever see that in an actual Lego build. I need to find a better way to do this, but it just seems like it was a little disruptive to all of a sudden flip it and be adding a piece, but maybe not. Okay, so because we use an illegal build technique, it's possible that, try to get my camera to focus here, that in that corner, it sits flat in the middle, and there might be a tiny gap. I don't know if you can see me squeezing that gap close at the edge. I think a lot of builders will use this technique. It's not the most egregious illegal technique, but I'm going to see if I can avoid it. Okay, step 9. We have some 2x3 plate to add to the bottom. And these will hide our colored bricks in the final build. And then we add another 3x3. Oh, I jumped ahead to my flipping step. Okay. Okay, now a 1x1 plate. Ooh, jumped off. And a 1x1 tile in front of it. And then these, I don't love this. These are hard to find. So these are not the same bricks that we used in the previous step. These bricks have studs on the side, but only on one side. So they might not even be in this bag. Are they in the other bag? No. Aha, here's one. So it's another, oh, and here's the other. It's another thing I don't love about this build at the moment, is it's hard to find those pieces. Here's our bar element. It's a 1x1 brick with a bar. And that sticks down right here. And now we're adding another layer on top, another 3x3 plate. And we're going to do much of the same here. More of these 2x3s. Snap these down. Now we have this fancy little piece that fits snugly around our 1x1 bar. And then a couple more 1x1 plate to just cap this off and bring it all up to the same level. Great. Now we're going to reinforce this with, what is this, 1x10 plate, 1x10 plate, and a 1x4. Looking good. And then we're going to do the same thing in reverse. A 1x10, a 1x4, and a 1x4. So you can see it's starting to enclose that bar element. Okay, and now, so far we've had some minor problems with these build instructions, but this is where the problems get major. And my 9-year-old said, this doesn't work, and he had to come up with a different way to do it. So he tried to follow the instructions and put a 1x1 on the end, and then these 1x2s with studs on the side. The problem is, it's hard to get this stud in and get it on at the same time. And I think it's probably especially difficult for the second one. You kind of have to shimmy them into place. And then, whoops, I did this in the wrong order. So how am I going to get this other Technic brick here? So I have to do these in the right order and then try to finagle these snot bricks in, and it takes some force to get them on there. So this is not a great build technique, and what we decided is maybe what would have been better is to build this up like we did our first layer. So if we step back to remember how we did that, we built this all up on the table. Just 3 bricks at a time, making it longer and longer and longer. So maybe we can do that again and then snap the whole thing on top. So let's try that, see if it's any easier. So we have our first bricks here. Let's add another layer. Put that brick into position, snap this on the side. Right away, this is easier to do. But I'm also a little bit concerned about how easy it'll be to snap it all down at the end. I think if you have a step where you're connecting two built pieces and it requires a lot of stud connections, it can be really challenging to kind of press it all down into place and make sure you have a solid connection. But we'll see. We'll see how it feels. Okay, so this was a lot easier to build this as one solid layer. And it's pretty sturdy. It wants to kind of bend this way. But if we can stick it down onto this, you know, it's not too bad. But I have adult hands, and I think if given to my 7-year-old or even my 9-year-old, it might be hard to squeeze these down into place. And then the last step is to put down 28 of these inverted 75-degree bricks. Let's speed through these. And there it is. It's a beautiful little build, and it fits perfectly into the midship. But let's see if we can improve the design and the instructions to make it a little easier and maybe even cheaper to build. So here we are back in Bricklink Studio, and let's see if we can make the cargo build any better. I'd like to see if we can eliminate any of the illegal build techniques. Maybe we can find some cheaper parts, and maybe we can make the build process a little more user-friendly. Let's dig in. Okay, so first things first, I think I'd like to focus on the first layer of bricks. So what I can do is just select all the black bricks and hide them. Okay, so that just leaves this layer of bricks here. If we can make, this is where the first level of illegal build techniques kind of takes place. And I wonder if you can see it in Studio. It seems as though Studio doesn't really think this is an illegal build technique. Everything seems perfectly aligned in the model. That's interesting. But let's see if we can make this better anyway. My original thinking behind having this inner layer of Technic bricks and then this outer layer of Snot bricks that interlocks with them is that I thought it would make the whole thing a lot more sturdy. But now I'm thinking sturdiness is not the problem that needs to be solved. It's just being able to build this thing easily. So how can we make something similar in shape that is easier to build? And right off the bat, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 studs. You know, I think I want to show everything again. Let's just get rid of some specific pieces. So I can select by type and color and hide all these angled pieces. Yeah, let's start here. And actually I'll get rid of this top layer too. So I can just go back to my default select, go to the side and kind of select everything that I intersect with. Okay, and now we just have these top layers. Now orient it in the same way as our instructions, just so it's a little more familiar. Let's see, is it helpful to take this layer off too. Let's do that for now. Okay. So we do need these studs on the side. These need to be black. So those pieces might be okay, but we might want to replace them with a brick with studs on one side instead of on both sides. Let's see if they make sure they make this in black. So it's 14.5 cents for black compared to this red brick. Actually, this black one is 16. Okay, so it's a little cheaper. It's comparable though. So let's take these out. Oh, these ones were already that style. Let's plop these ones in. Clone this piece, turn it, and plop it on the other side. Okay. So right away, we eliminated those stud connections. For these, let's see if we can do the same thing. So I'm just gonna, I can select by type and color. We're gonna get rid of these reds. And I'm gonna clone this. And I'm gonna see what the cheapest color is. The cheapest color is tan, 8.1 cents. What about red? 9.8 cents. Okay, well, let's keep it red for now. We'll worry about colors at the end. So this piece doesn't have studs on the back. So it would not be an illegal build technique to put them in place of what we already had. So let's, I'm gonna select type and color, clone those, turn them, and place them on the other side. Okay. Now that we are not connecting these to these Technic bricks, I don't know that there's any reason for that to be Technic bricks. So let's replace it. We'll just take all of these out. And I think here we'd want to, because they're not connected anymore to this outer row, we want to make sure that we're overlapping with these bottom plates in a way that's going to cause this to still be sturdy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 12 long. Can we just do a 1 by 12 brick? The cheapest version of this is 23 cents. And black is 32 cents. That's not bad. Can we just do that? Trying to think of how this would change the build instructions. You probably wouldn't start, because these 3 rows aren't connected to each other, you couldn't start by building those rows and then flipping them and sticking them down to this. You'd probably start with this bottom plate and this center brick, and then start attaching all these studs on side pieces after the fact. Okay, I think this is okay. Without that center one being red anymore, or tan anymore, maybe we can choose to make these the cheaper color. Okay. Now, Let's show all again. Looks good. Let's selectively hide some of these again to kind of get access to our next row here. Okay, so we know we don't want any of those anymore. So let's do something similar to get studs on the side. I'll clone this up there. And we'll just copy this down the line. And then clone that whole row, flip it, and place it. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Now this whole thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is 14. I don't think there's a 1 by 14 brick though. No. Oh, this is a 1 by 14 Technic. Is that what we would want to do though? $0.52. What if we did a 1 by 6 brick and a 1 by 8, just for comparison? This too would need to be black, so that's 23. Another thing to keep in mind is that the cargo, the fore cargo, so the cargo that's closer to the bow of the ship, the cargo hold there is a little bit deeper. And so I don't think this is 14 studs long. I think it's 18. So we need something that is scalable. So this is 52.8 cents to do these 2 bricks versus almost exactly the same to do it in 1 long brick. So yeah, let's do the 1 long brick. We'll figure out the fore cargo when the time comes. We might just combine a couple Technic bricks up top. Okay. And then we have 28 items hidden. I do remember that there are 28 of those angled pieces. So if we put those back in place, the build is done. Now, the instructions are going to be all wacky now. So let's take a look at build instructions. Now I did have all my instructions nicely laid out, and after all those disruptive changes to the model, everything is all messed up. So I have a bunch of empty steps where I did have steps. I'm going to delete these empty steps, and we're just going to take a look at this model. In fact, let's exit I find it easier to put the whole model into a single step. If we can move to step 1. And I'm just going to delete the other steps. And then in our instructions editor, actually one more thing before we jump into the instructions editor. Did we overlook anything glaring? Do we still have good stability in this build? It seems good. No warnings, no cautions, nice wide base. It's all good. Okay, now let's jump into the instructions and figure this out. Oh, wait, actually, nope. One more thing. We have all of these, now that we're using these bricks with studs only on one side. I did want to check, do we have those bricks in 1x4? And we do. So it would be better to use a combination of 1x4 and 1x2 to make this a little sturdier. And would it actually even be cheaper? It's possible. So, well, 1x4 to replace 2 of these 1x2s. 2 of these 1x2s is 29 cents. One of the 1x4s is 11.8 cents. Wait, so is one 1x4 cheaper? One 1x4 is cheaper than one 1x2. That is wild. I'm glad I checked. They don't make a 1x6, do they? No. So, what's the cheapest color for this? Yellow. And that's 8 cents. Tan is 10 cents. Red is 10 cents. Okay. Let's maybe... How much did tan cost here? Yeah, again, okay. Yeah, let's replace. This should give us a bit of a sturdier build. And we do still need one 1x2 in the middle. I like to keep, it makes it just a tiny bit confusing if we have these two pieces that are different but look very similar and are the same color. So it makes me want to have all of the, as much as possible, have all of the pieces of a certain type be the same color. I know we have a lot of these in black too, but that's out of necessity. So the cheapest version for that is tan. Cheapest one for this is yellow. I kind of want to like control our palette a little bit and don't really want to use yellow in the build more than I have to. Red and tan and black, and keeping it in that color family, I think is going to work. And that's kind of what we did in the inside of the midship too. So let's keep it like this for now. I'm going to copy this little combination and then paste it over here after I turn it around. There we go. Now we need to keep black on the ends. Okay, now let's do something similar for the top row. I think I'm going to keep a 1x2 on the end so we can have a 1x4 that straddles this seam. See the seam right here? So anytime you have the choice between straddling a seam and not straddling a seam. Straddling the seam is nice because it gives you a little more stability in the build. I kind of like how this works. It's 2, 4, 2, 4, 2. A little alternating pattern. We save a little bit of money and we get a little bit of extra stability. So it's a win-win. And having pieces, having different pieces makes the build a little more complicated, but it can make it a little more interesting too. So here we go. The black is still the only thing that shows. So we're all good. Okay. Now, back to the instructions. I promise this time. So all of these pieces are in a single step. So what I'm going to do is start separating things. I know that I want the angled pieces to be the last step. So I'm going to select by type and color and move these to a new step after. Okay, so that's much better already. So the step you're on shows you all the pieces in solid colors that you're adding in that step. Obviously this is way too many for one step, but then you can see in step 2, we add all these angled pieces. So let's break this down even further. I'm going to go back to my normal selection, and I'm just going to select this whole top row, add it to a new step after. I'm going to do this row as well. Oh, I messed that up, so I missed one. So instead of doing new step after, I'll do step after, meaning the step that already exists. So you can see how this kind of builds up now layer by layer and then adds the angle pieces at the end. And I'll get a little more detailed about the order of those steps and break it down more if necessary. So let's continue this. So we're going to select this layer, add it to a new step after. Okay. Now we're getting a little into the nitty-gritty. So how do we want to do this? I think I'll add these corner pieces last. Then add this. Then add these. Okay. So maybe we could start with this as the first step. Get the whole base laid and connected with this one brick. Then from there, you add these pieces. Then those. Then the bar. I like adding the bar separately because if you just jumped to this step, it would kind of be hard to tell that the 1x1 plate is underneath that bar brick. So I like to make things abundantly clear if I can. So then once those are in place, adding these to the corners is sort of clear what needs to be done. Should this be broken up or could it stay like this? If anything, I think this could go to a new step after. So maybe just do this first, then do that next. In my last one, I did that even on a separate step. That felt okay when we were building. I mean, it might be a little bit dumbed down, but that's okay. I'd rather it be too easy than too hard. I believe, which did we do first last time? I think we split this up into 2 steps. Let's add the more involved step after. Okay, and maybe we'll do this layer in the same order as we did the first layer. So start with the center brick. Then I keep doing that. then the outside, center, outside, finish with the corners, and then add these pieces. Okay, so that's a good like first pass through. So let's see what the instructions look like. First step. Second step, the layout is moving all over the place, but we'll see if we can fix that up. Third step, fourth. Okay, add the corner bricks, lay down the first layer. I could even separate that 1x3 out, but I think this is fine. Okay, this all feels fine to me. Then a center brick across the whole top. Okay. I wonder if this brick should be, if these 1x2s should be added separately. Let's try it. So maybe move them to the step after. So you do these 1x4s and then you do these all at once. They're all the same piece. We might want to mirror that here too, but I don't think I would do, well, maybe I would do them with the corner pieces. So you do those first. Would I do these with the addition of the corner pieces on step 5? So let's move them to a specific step, step 5. I wonder if this should move down. So you do this first. You get this whole center row put in place, and then you start building up the red, the tan, and the black. Maybe because this is the only, maybe we make these black. I mean, at that point, what's the point of having these red ones? Let's make them black. Hiding. Selecting these by type and color and making them black. Saving and back into instructions. Feels okay. Maybe moving this to the step before it feels a little too easy. We add this, we add this. I wonder if it's, this is overlapping that gap. I wonder if it'd be, yeah, should be fine. Then we add the center brick, we add those, and then just like the layer beneath, we add those 6 1x2s. Okay, so back to the design. We'll kind of step through this again. Good, good, good. Not paying attention to the layout right now, just trying to visualize the steps. It's a little hard to tell where one brick stops and one brick begins. But that isn't how we did it last time, is it? I think I remember having this problem before. I think these should go to the step before, and this should go to the step after. So now you do this, and then this. And I think that makes it clearer. Okay. So the instructions automatically updated with that change. Yeah, I like that better. Then we put this all the way across the top. Put those next to it. And then finally those bits. And then these at the end. Okay, so we did it. Now let's make it look a little prettier. I like to scale down the pieces to give a little more room. And I like to add a little radius on that box. That's just personal preference. And you can update that globally. So now that's how it goes everywhere. Now, this base represents basically the entire length of the part. So I'm going to put that in the center and then see if I can, slide it straight down. So that basically we can keep building the part in this exact same position. And how you do that is when I go to step 2, you can see this is moved, but I can right click it and say align to previous step image. So now these are perfectly aligned with each other, which is super handy. You can also see if I just scroll this or move this, if I get close to my previous step image, it'll allow me to kind of snap it to the previous step image, and it shows me a little ghost image of it. But I find it easier to just say align to previous step image. You know, actually I wish this would like cascade, but I want to move this up a little bit. Center it a little more in the page. And then make those changes on the subsequent steps. And after we kind of get everything laid out how we want it, there's a few more modifications that you can make if necessary where you can show pieces being like put into place in case that's helpful for some scenarios. Okay, so this actually, the layout worked pretty well all the way through, and that's not always the case. Sometimes you run into the part descriptions or things like that. So let's just see if we can step through and see how everything looks. I'm going to go back to the beginning and just think in terms of actually putting this together. I think I could figure out this step. I think it's clear enough that that brick goes in the center because you can see how it aligns with those studs at the end. And then this continues that line. I think that that's fine. Put that brick on top. This isn't totally clear. I mean, you just have to kind of count the studs to see that placement, but it's totally doable. It's possible that it'd be better to do these corner bricks first, but then you'd have to count studs to center those ones in the middle. So I think either way, it's fine. Then we start laying down the next layer. We stop short because it gets a little complicated here at the end. So we do that as a separate step. And then we lay out these and then do the opposite here. One brick across the whole top middle. And then these across. Yep. And then those to finish it up. I think it's pretty good. I would say let's stop it there. As I was going through, I realized that there are some pieces in the middle. This little U-shaped piece and where are they? These 2x3 black plate that go across wouldn't have to be black because they will be hidden too, but I think it's fine if they are. Maybe I'll decide to change those later, but for now I think we're good. So let's stop here. I'm going to export those as build instructions. I'll probably upload those parts to a Bricklink shopping list and get those parts bought. And then I'm going to see if my kids have better luck with these instructions. So there you have it. Thanks for joining me today to improve my Lego build, and I'll let you know when I get the final verdict from my kids. I'll see you soon.